channel. So in our last videos, we have discussed about the Microsoft Purview, sensitive information identifier, trainable classifiers identifier. Then we talked about how we can define in the protection policy. Now today we are going to define in how we are going to create in the policy for labeling the data. So for this purpose, we'll be coming to the solutions, and in solution we are going to look in for the information protection. Under information protection, here if you see, we have the options for classifiers, where we have talked about the trainable classifier and sensitive identifier. Then we have the policies. So these policies will be for publishing the labels. This is the label publishing policy. And here on top, if you see, there is the sensitivity labels. And if I click on the reports, it is giving me the reports associated with the various sensitivity identifiers in my organization. And here if I look up into the information protection overview, where it shows me all the details like sensitivity level coverage and what are the retention things. So as of now, there is no protection policy defined. That's why it's not showing me any protection here. So what we'll do is, first is I'm going to create in a sensitivity label, and then in the next video we'll see how we can create in a label publishing policy or the auto labeling policies. So label is what? Label is a tag that will be attached to the data when it identifies any kind of policy breach. So I'll give it up a name here as CloudArk Exchange policy or exchange label. Display name will be EXCHSI label. What will the label priority? This is going to be the highest priority. Description for the users. You have sensitive data in your message. And description for admins. SI data found in Exchange sets. Now this label has to be, because it is a sensitive one, so I'm going to put it into the category as red. This label will be red category, that means highest sensitivity data. Visual interpretation. Now here we are going to extend the labels beyond the Microsoft 365, but as of now our requirement is to have only on the labels, the Microsoft emails. But if you want, the same label can be tagged in for files and other data sets when it covers in the Power BI, the Fabric, or the endpoint protected data on your specific groups, 365 groups, SharePoint sites and all. If you want, you can set in the scope of this label, let it be default and it covers everything. But our intention is not to have single label covering up everything. I can keep all of them, or I can keep only emails. But because this is a messaging relevant, so I will keep it up in the policies and the meetings also here. As of now, I'm leaving up the Microsoft 365 groups and teams also there. This is only when the data set moves on. So if you want the teams also be protected, any exchange in any information exchange on Microsoft Teams or any message through Teams or through SharePoint sites or through the Loop workspaces, that also to be protected, then in that case, I have to enable this policy also. Okay, so I'll keep up this default scope and then move on next. Now, what kind of protection I want to enable on here? Apply content marking or control the access, who can view and access the labels. I say that control access, apply the content marking. We'll move on next. Here, configure the access control. This is where we are going to set in the co-authoring configuration, apply it on our environment. So this is where you are letting team members be also able to do the co-authoring for that. Okay, so here I'm going back to the sensitivity labels creation that we were doing. Click on EXCH label, display name, exchange data, you have SI info in your mail, exchange SI data identified. Move on next, apply the content marking, move next, where the content marking would be at the footer, or you can also add in a watermark to the text. Here I'll say that CloudArk confidential, font size, color red, and layout diagonal. So diagonally on the screen of the data text, it will be marking up as confidential data. Okay. And oh, sorry, because I have added, no, I don't want any footer. Auto labeling for the files and mails. If you want an auto labeling to happen, you can make in the selection here. You don't have to create in a policy after that. I'll say that if the content contains what, this time I'll select in the trainable classifiers. And if you recall, we created in the trainable classifiers in our previous lab activities. This one, SI, MX. If this is identified, automatically apply the label, okay, and display this message to the user. The message is you have sensitive data move next. The define protection for groups and sites, that I'm going to leave up as of now. That we will do in some other activity, and here I'm going to create in the label. So once this label is defined, then we will create in our publishing the label policy, and we will create in an auto label policy that we are going to discuss in our next video. So see you soon. Keep watching. Stay tuned.